Have you ever met someone who simply cannot be tied down? Not because they're too rebellious, but because they were born with wildfire in their veins, and the wind as their only compass. You don't command them, they move with a rhythm, older than rules, deeper than logic. That's Sagittarius. They aren't just a zodiac sign, they're a myth in motion. A living echo of the centaur, the half-human, half-horse wanderer from ancient lore destined to chase truth across endless horizons. They are guided not by maps, but by instinct. They do not settle. They seek. And that's where the contradiction lies. They shine with optimism, warmth and light. They walk into a room and make it brighter. But cross a Sagittarius, try to trap them, limit them or lie to them, and you'll see that same light turn into wildfire, not explosive, not reckless, but intentional, intense, and impossible to extinguish. Sagittarius doesn't fight for control. They fight for truth. And in that fight, they can become one of the most formidable forces in the entire zodiac. So the question is, do you truly understand the power of a Sagittarius? Or are you simply enchanted by their charm, unaware of the storm beneath? Because this isn't just about zodiac traits or personality types. This is about unraveling the mystery of one of the most misunderstood signs in the entire cosmos. And what you're about to discover may forever change how you see the Sagittarius in your life. Or yourself. If you're a Sagittarius, or if you've ever loved, feared, or been completely unraveled by one, hit that like button and comment below. I have touched the fire of Sagittarius. And don't forget to subscribe, because this is just the first spark in a journey that will burn through illusions and light the path to a truth only Sagittarius can see. Now, grab a warm drink, close every other tab, and let me take you into the wild, untamed soul of Sagittarius. A Sagittarian's pull to wander is not an accident. It's not a weekend itch or a dramatic urge. It's a deep, trembling hum in their bones, a call that reverberates through every cell of their being. It isn't merely about physical movement, though that is part of the allure. It is a pilgrimage of the heart, the mind, and the spirit. A journey without maps, charting inner landscapes across starlit skies. They do not travel to collect stamps in a passport. They travel to gather fragments of truth scattered across continents and belief systems. Somewhere, between a remote mountaintop and a midnight conversation with a stranger, Sagittarius finds themselves flickering an echo of something ancient, something wise. At the core of this lies a kind of uncanny intuition. Not the shy whisper of doubt, but a roaring recognition. A Sagittarian may pause on a crowded street and sense the direction to take towards the cafes where ideas bloom or to the sacred silence beyond. It is as though the universe sends them letters through coincidences. A feather in the path, a book left open, a melody that clings to their skin. They hear those messages. They feel them in the marrow. This is fueled by their ruling planet, Jupiter, the Great Awakener, the planet of abundance and grand vision. Jupiter doesn't whisper. It waves flags of cosmic possibility in Sagittarian minds, urging them to leap, to explore, to believe there's more. They are free spirits, wired for expansion, so much so that stillness feels like a cage. But imagine the centaur, the mythic symbol of Sagittarius. Half human, half horse. They aim their arrow at horizons unseen, yet remain tethered to earth. That duality is their tragedy and their mythic power. The centaur archer carries humanity's deepest yearning, the wish to understand the infinite while grounding it in flesh, bone, and breath. Few understand this. The archer who aims highest often stands alone. The arrow flies without a companion, propelled by vision only they can glimpse. And in the quiet moments, when that vision dims, Sagittarius wrestles with the ache of isolation, because not everyone can keep pace with a heart set on chasing constellations. Here's where the real alchemy happens. Sagittarius does not simply move, they transform. They turn memories of distant cities, philosophical debates, or quiet dawns beside campfires into narratives that spark others into motion. They're not leaders in the traditional sense. They're heralds. They sound a bell in the soul that says, there is something larger than fear. And when they speak of truth or distant possibilities, it's not sales pitch or showmanship. It's an invitation to the bravest chapter of your own story. So here's my quiet ask, my cosmic call to you watching. If a Sagittarius ever pulled you into a journey that changed the center of your world, if they led you into a question you can't unask, a horizon you can't unsee, share it. Comment below with these words: I traveled with a Sagittarius. Let their silent arrow of intuition have landed in someone else's heart just now. And while you're here, hit that like button. Let's honor the wildness they teach us. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because our journey doesn't end here. Not when there's a whole universe whispering through a Sagittarius, begging us to listen. There's a particular kind of silence that falls right after a Sagittarius speaks the truth. It's not a silence of shock. It's the kind that seeps deep into the chest, making the heart skip. It leaves a lingering echo long after the conversation has moved on. Because when a Sagittarius tells the truth, it cuts, clean, swift, and merciless. Not because they intend to harm, but because they refuse to lie. You see, Sagittarius doesn't speak from ego. They speak from altitude, from the panoramic view their soul carries. While others tiptoe around emotions, avoiding conflict, sugarcoating realities for the sake of peace, Sagittarius walks straight into the fire. They are the storm who whispers, "You needed to hear this. It's brutal. It's liberating. And it's unforgettable." To understand this, we must remember, Sagittarius isn't just ruled by Jupiter, the planet of growth and wisdom. They're also symbolized by the archer. An image we so often forget is also a warrior. And warriors don't carry words to flatter, they carry words to pierce through illusion, to liberate others from self-deceit, even if it hurts. They don't aim for the wound. They aim for the truth. But sometimes, they are one and the same. Sagittarians have a startling ability to see right through masks. They'll laugh with you, walk beside you, even love you fiercely, but somewhere in their mind, they're taking notes. They notice the way your voice trembles when you talk about your past. They remember the contradiction between your words and your eyes. And when the time comes, if the conversation calls for it, they speak. And what they say isn't laced with venom or hatred. It's laced with honesty so pure, it burns. The words of a Sagittarius are like arrows tipped with fire. Not just sharp, but blazing with conviction. You might not bleed, but you will burn. And no one else will see the scar, because the wound is invisible. It lands somewhere deeper beneath your armor, beneath your pride, into the tenderest part of your being. And once it hits, you can never unhear it. People often accuse Sagittarians of being harsh, unfiltered, or even cruel, but what they miss is the intent. A Sagittarius rarely speaks out of spite. They speak because they believe in the power of truth. They genuinely see lies as poison, slow, silent destroyers of trust and authenticity. And so they rip them out, regardless of the cost. It's not their comfort they protect. It's your potential. Because to a Sagittarius, the most dangerous thing is a life lived in denial. And if they can spare you that, even if it means being seen as the villain, they will do it. Over and over again. That's their loyalty. Not to your feelings, but to your becoming. But there's a shadow here too. Sometimes, in their pursuit of honesty, Sagittarius forgets the weight of their arrows. They forget that not everyone is ready to be unmasked, that not all truths are kind, and sometimes they confuse intuition with assumption, insight with projection. A truth spoken too early, too bluntly, can become a weapon rather than a key, and they may not even notice, because to them, they've handed you freedom, but to you, it might feel like betrayal. This is why being close to a Sagittarius is both a blessing and a trial. They'll open your mind, expand your world, challenge your lies, and teach you how to fly. But they may also expose wounds you weren't ready to face just by speaking what they see. So if you've ever heard a sentence from a Sagittarius that haunted you, A moment where they said what no one else dared. And you knew, in that instant, something inside you changed. Forever. You're not alone. Drop a comment below and write, "I've been struck by a Sagittarius arrow." Let's see how many others have felt the burn and grown from it. And if you're still watching, hit the like button. Not just because it helps the channel, but because you, like many, understand that truth, even when painful, is sacred. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the moment. Because we're just beginning to peel back the layers of this sign. And what's coming next might just leave a mark that doesn't fade. There's something almost mythic about the way Sagittarius gives. They offer without hesitation an opportunity, a piece of wisdom, a burst of inspiration that lights up your mind, like the first star in a dark sky. Their generosity isn't performative. It doesn't come with strings. It's instinctive, like lightning leaping from clouds, electric and momentary. And yet, unforgettable. Sagittarius gives from the soul. And they give fast. You might cross paths with them for just a moment, a train ride, a late-night message, a spontaneous encounter on a random Tuesday, and suddenly, they drop something into your life that shifts your direction entirely. A truth, a connection, a challenge, a vision, something that reminds you that you are so much more than you've settled for. But here's the thing most people don't understand. Sagittarius rarely stays. They appear with fire in their eyes and wind on their heels, then vanish before the dust even settles. Not because they're playing games, not because they're afraid, but because that's their nature, untethered, nomadic, divine, in their unpredictability. Trying to hold on to a Sagittarius is like trying to bottle sunlight or lasso the sky. They are not meant to be possessed. They are meant to be experienced like a shooting star, brief but burning, leaving trails of wonder long after they're gone. Some people call it flakiness. Others say they're unreliable. But those words fall short of the truth. The truth is, Sagittarius connects deeply, but not permanently. When they offer you something, a perspective, a dream, a chance, you are seeing them at their most raw and generous. But once the exchange has been made, their inner compass often pulls them forward, toward the next soul to ignite, the next story to live, the next truth to chase. And what they leave behind isn't absence, it's impact. You remember their laughter, like firelight flickering in the cold. You remember the questions they asked, the dreams they dared you to speak aloud, the way they looked at you, like you were already capable of becoming something more. That is the mark of Sagittarius. They leave traces in your becoming. Sometimes you'll find yourself thinking about them months later, realizing that one conversation with them gave you the courage to quit your job, start your business, end a toxic relationship, or finally take that solo trip. That's how Sagittarius loves. Not by staying, but by activating. And yes, there's pain in that, a kind of ache. You may wonder if it was ever real. How could someone so present, so intense, suddenly disappear like smoke? But it was real. It always was. Sagittarius doesn't fake connection. They just don't cling to it. And maybe, just maybe, the gift they gave you wasn't meant to be wrapped in commitment, but in freedom. So if a Sagittarius ever handed you a moment you didn't expect, a piece of magic, insight, or joy, and then vanished like a gust of wind in a silent night, you're not alone. Leave a comment below and write, "I still carry the gift of Sagittarius." Let's gather the pieces they left behind and honor how deeply they shaped us. And while you're here, give this video a like. It lets us know their legacy lives on in you. And subscribe, because the next chapter in this story will unravel the deeper strategy behind how and why Sagittarius gives, and what happens when they withhold. Sometimes, the greatest lesson they teach is how to let go. But other times, it's how to rise. There's a fire that lives deep within Sagittarius, untamed, eternal, and strangely tender. Most people only ever see its warmth, the laughter, the light, the infectious optimism. They see the traveler, the philosopher, the one who forgives quickly, who moves on easily, who turns heartbreak into a joke and pain into a story. And so, they assume that Sagittarius is unbothered, that betrayal won't stick, that if you wound them, they'll just gallop away and forget. But here's the truth. Sagittarius remembers. Not in the way that others hold grudges, but in the way that fire remembers what it once consumed. When a Sagittarius gives you their trust, it is never halfway. They don't offer pieces of themselves cautiously. They open the door fully. They let you in, into their thoughts, their unfiltered dreams, their wildest visions of the future. You become a part of their mental map, a sacred space only few are allowed to enter. And if you betray that trust, if you lie, manipulate, or wound them intentionally, you don't just break their heart, you awaken their fire. Sagittarius doesn't rage quietly. They don't sulk in corners or scheme behind shadows. When they are pushed past their limit, their reaction is raw, public, and powerful. Like a wildfire racing through dry forest, they won't hold back. They will speak, clearly, loudly, and every word will burn with precision. The truth they tell in anger won't be petty. It will be the truth you've been avoiding, exposed with a force that leaves no room for excuses. And yet, they're not cruel. Their outbursts aren't meant to destroy you. They're meant to release themselves. Sagittarius cannot carry poison. They will not fester in silence. When the line is crossed, they must respond, because silence, for them, would be a form of spiritual self-betrayal. But after the flames comes the vanishing. They don't just walk away. They evaporate. No long explanations, no second chances, no dragging it out for closure. The door shuts clean, final, irreversible, and you realize too late. They were your sun, and now you are cold. Because here's the revenge of Sagittarius, it's not revenge at all. It's evolution. They don't stay behind to watch you regret it. They move forward, far, fast. They glow up, level up, rise higher, and become so undeniably magnetic that their absence becomes your ache. While you're replaying the arguments, rereading the texts, questioning your choices, they're in another city, laughing freely, surrounded by new energy. They've made peace. They've made progress. And you? You're still staring into the ashes. They don't throw shade. They shine so brightly that your memory of them casts the shadow itself. And maybe that's the part people fear the most. Not the anger, not the confrontation, but the way Sagittarius never looks back. Their ability to cut ties completely, to erase your access like it never existed, is both their greatest weapon and your deepest lesson. Because if you ever betray a Sagittarius, what you'll remember isn't the fight. It's the freedom they gave themselves by leaving. It's how they rose from that betrayal with more purpose, more joy, more fire than before. It's how they turned your dishonesty into the soil that grew their next chapter. And somewhere inside, you'll know, their absence didn't punish you, it changed you. So if you've ever stood in the blast radius of a Sagittarius betrayed, if you watch them burn through lies with terrifying clarity, then vanish into their next great adventure, if their silence said everything your heart wasn't ready to hear, comment below and write, "I've seen Sagittarius burn." Let others know that fire like this isn't a threat. It's a reckoning, a reminder, a rite of passage. And if this story touched something inside you, tap the like button. Let the world know that Sagittarius doesn't just survive betrayal, they transform through it. And don't forget to subscribe, because next, we'll step into a place rarely spoken of, the moment when the fire goes dim, when Sagittarius becomes the one who's wounded, when they don't erupt, but implode. What happens when they don't burn the bridge but become the one left behind? That is the storm no one sees coming. Not every Sagittarius departure is loud. Sometimes They don't burn bridges. They simply disappear like mist fading from the mountain at sunrise. No warnings, no closure, just silence. It happens when they feel misunderstood, boxed in, trapped in a role they never agreed to play. And instead of explaining themselves, instead of arguing or pleading to be seen, they leave. Not because they're afraid, but because freedom, to them, isn't a preference. It's survival. To love a Sagittarius is to know they are not yours. They belong to the road, to the stars, to whatever wild idea has captured their heart that week. You can walk beside them, but if you ever try to hold them too tightly, their spirit begins to suffocate. They'll laugh. They'll love. But when the air gets too thick with expectations, when the truth of who they are is questioned, or when their inner compass screams, "You're shrinking," they vanish. Not because they're running away, but because staying would mean betrayal of their own soul. And yet, they never leave without a trace. Sagittarius always leaves something behind. Sometimes a book, a memory, a question that keeps you awake at night. Sometimes it's a sentence they said once, offhandedly, and now it lives in your bones. Other times, it's the way they made you feel. Like you could finally breathe. Like there was more. Like you were capable of something you'd long stopped believing in. They may be gone from your life, but their energy lingers in the folds of your becoming. That's the paradox of Sagittarius. They crave freedom, yet they long to be remembered. They don't ask to be followed, but they hope you'll take something with you. A spark, a vision, a part of the truth they helped you uncover. Because despite their wild heart, Sagittarius isn't careless. They are guides in disguise. And when they leave, they often leave you standing at the edge of your next transformation. Not by accident, but by design. They are not just the traveler, they are the torchbearer. And once they've walked with you, you are never quite the same again. But this final escape, is often the most painful. Not because of what they said, but because of what they didn't. No goodbye, no explanation, just distance. And you, left wondering if it was ever real. But let me tell you this. It was. Sagittarius doesn't fake connection. They don't invest in what doesn't move them. If they touched your life, it's because something in you called to them. And if they're gone, it's not rejection. It's realignment. For you. For them. For the greater arc of your story. So if a Sagittarius ever walked into your life, lit it up like a comet across midnight skies, then vanished before you were ready, look closely. You'll find they left a message. A breadcrumb. A seed. And somewhere inside, a part of you is still growing from it. If you've ever felt your life shift quietly, permanently after meeting a Sagittarius, if they gave you something no one else could, and then slipped away like a riddle the universe refuses to explain, write in the comments, "I learned something from a Sagittarius." Let that echo ripple outward, because the wisdom they leave behind often blooms in silence. And if this story made you feel seen, or stirred something inside you tap-like, so others may feel that fire too. Subscribe if you haven't already, because our journey through the stars is far from over. Sagittarius taught us that even departures can be divine, that walking away can be an act of grace. That freedom, when chosen with love, is a gift, not a goodbye. And in the end, maybe the greatest lesson they offer isn't about staying or leaving, but about how to live a life that means something, even if only for a moment. Sagittarius doesn't belong to anyone. They belong to the journey, to the wilderness between destinations, to the pause between questions and answers. They are not yours to hold, but if you're lucky, they're yours to witness, even if only for a fleeting moment. You cannot cage a creature born from fire and sky. You cannot anchor a soul whose compass points not north, but forward. And yet, their presence lingers long after they've gone the way a comet streaks across the night, burning itself into memory. You don't remember what they said. You remember how you felt when they said it, seen, awakened, expanded. Sagittarius isn't here to stay. They're here to ignite, and that is their magic. They remind you that you are allowed to seek. You are allowed to outgrow, to question, to abandon safety in pursuit of something truer. They remind you that growth is messy, honest, sometimes lonely, but always worth it. They won't stay to walk every mile with you, but they'll hand you the first spark. And from that spark, you light your own fire. That is their gift. So never mistake their departure for detachment. It is in their leaving that they give you back to yourself. They are the soul whisperers, the story starters, the fire starters. They don't teach you how to stay, they teach you how to move, how to trust, how to fly. Remember this: the power of Sagittarius was never in possession. It was always in impact. They change you not by staying, but by lighting something in you that refuses to go out. So if you've ever crossed paths with a Sagittarius who changed you, not with promises, but with presence, not with permanence, but with purpose, honor that. If you're a Sagittarius, and the world has told you that you're too much, too wild, too inconsistent, hear this instead. You are flame. You are myth. You are movement. You are the light that touches everything and asks nothing in return but freedom. And if you feel that truth in your bones, say it. Comment below. I am the fire that cannot be put out. Let the world know your freedom is not a flaw, it's your legacy. And if this story reached you, if you felt seen, moved, cracked open tap, like, not for us, but for yourself, because something ancient inside you just stirred. Subscribe now, not because the journey ends here, but because this is only the beginning. The stars have more to tell you, and maybe, just maybe, you're ready to listen, because Sagittarius doesn't just burn, they illuminate. And you, my dear, were meant to glow.